This is a powerful and honest reflection. Here's a polished version of part 1. The inner noise, formatted for use as part of a written story, post, or voiceover. #### part 1. The inner noise: you think too much. Even when there's nothing left to think about, your mind refuses to slow down. Keeps spinning, replaying, dissecting, digging into things that don't need solving. You walk into a room and suddenly remember something you said a week ago. It haunts you like it just happened. At night, you stare at the ceiling, wondering if you missed a signal, a detail, a mistake. This isn't just overthinking, this is spiraling. People say, relax, or let it go, as if it were that simple. But they don't understand that your brain has its own rhythm, and it's relentless. There is no switch, just loops, layers, echoes. One thought becomes 10, then 10 become a storm. It doesn't matter how exhausted you are. The moment silence surrounds you, your thoughts begin to scream. Sometimes you play out things that never even happened. A made-up argument, a future rejection, scenarios your heart hasn't lived through, but your brain already has. You think you're preparing yourself, but really you're just slowly wearing yourself down. Let me know if you'd like part 2 or a version for narration, video, or visuals like image prompts, background music mood, or scene settings. Your body can feel fine. You can get through the day, smile at the right moments, even laugh when you're supposed to. But beneath that surface, your mind is dragging. Overthinking doesn't tire you the way running does. It's a different kind of exhaustion. It's like sprinting in circles, chasing conclusions that never come, running a race with no finish line and no break. You lie in bed hoping for peace, but wake up more tired than when you closed your eyes. Your brain doesn't rest. It replays, rewrites, reanalyzes, questions everything you did, everything you said, even things that didn't happen. You find yourself revisiting conversations that ended days ago. You go back over your wording, your tone, the way someone looked at you, the pause before they answered. You rewrite your past like a script that could be fixed if only you could change a few lines. But it's not just the past, it's the future too. Imagine scenarios, worst-case outcomes, things that will likely never happen, but still manage to steal your peace. You try to distract yourself. You rely on anything that can keep your mind from circling itself again. Music, scrolling endlessly, talking just to keep your thoughts quieter, eating when you're not hungry. Whatever it takes to feel something else, even briefly. Distraction becomes your fuel, because rest no longer works. Stillness is no longer comfort. It's a trigger, because in the quiet, your mind gets loud again. And then there's the social part, the invisible war you fight around other people. You smile because that's what's expected. You nod and joke and carry conversations, but under the surface, your brain is working overtime. Did they look at you weird? Did your voice sound shaky? Was that joke too much? Did they actually want you here, or are they just being polite? You don't want to care. You tell yourself not to care, but your brain won't let it go. It analyzes every glance, every tone, every tiny shift in body language. And afterward, when you're alone again, it replays the entire thing like surveillance footage, frame by frame. This noise lives in the background of everything. You can be at a party, surrounded by people, seemingly fine. You can laugh, join in, even feel a brief moment of joy. But still, there's a part of your mind scanning, worrying, checking for danger that isn't there. You wonder if they really like you, if you said something wrong, if you even deserve to be there at all. That's the thing about overthinking. It doesn't stop just because you're happy. It doesn't stop just because you want it to. It follows you everywhere. And most of the time, nobody knows. Overthinking is invisible. It doesn't look like panic or distress. It looks like silence, like zoning out, like being deep in thought. People don't see how hard you're working just to seem okay. They don't see the battles you're fighting behind your eyes. You seem calm, maybe even shy or reserved. But what they don't see is how hard you're trying to hold it all in. How exhausting it is just to appear normal. Even when you're doing nothing, you're doing everything internally. You're analyzing, reviewing, criticizing, fixing, fearing. It feels like you're constantly on the edge of something, even if you can't name what. And you're tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes. The kind of tired that comes from carrying something heavy all day, every day, with no one around you noticing you're even carrying it. That's the hardest part of it all. The secret weight of overthinking. The effort it takes. The loneliness it brings. The silence in which it hides. You're tired, but no one knows why. And sometimes you're not even sure if they'd understand it if you told them. You reread texts, not just once or twice, but over and over. You scan each word, dissect the punctuation, the pauses, the emojis. You search for signs. Was that sentence too short? Did it sound cold? Was there a hidden meaning you missed? You wonder if they read your message too quickly, or if the delay in response means something. You write a reply, delete it, rewrite it, tweak a word, hesitate again. You send it and then regret it instantly. Not because it was wrong, but because you can't stop wondering how it will be received. What if you misunderstood the tone? What if they misunderstood yours? You rehearse conversations in your head, before they happen and long after they're over. You play them out like scripts. You create better versions of what you could have said, how they might have responded. You change the timing, sharpen your replies, soften your words, imagine outcomes that feel safer, smoother, cleaner. In your mind, you're both yourself and the other person, acting out every possibility like an internal stage play. You don't do this to dwell, you do it to feel ready. Or maybe to feel like you have some control over a world that rarely gives you any. You notice things most people forget. A shift in someone's voice, a look they gave you mid-sentence, a word they chose instead of another. You remember these things not because you want to, but because your mind holds on to them. Phrases, pauses, glances. You remember how someone looked away when they said something or how they responded a second too late. These tiny things become large inside your mind, blooming into questions that don't have answers. It's not that you're overly sensitive. It's that your brain refuses to let go. Overthinking isn't just a bad habit. It's an invisible one. It doesn't show itself in ways others can see. To someone watching, you're just quiet, still, focused maybe, but inside you're tangled in 100 thoughts all at once. What seems like calm is actually chaos. What looks like careful thinking is often quiet panic. You're not trying to create problems, you're trying to avoid them. You're not being dramatic, you're trying to be prepared. Every scenario you build in your mind is an attempt to reduce hurt, avoid embarrassment, prevent confusion. But it rarely works that way. Most of the time, it only deepens the fear. Because at the core of all this noise is fear. Fear of saying the wrong thing. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of being too much, too intense, too needy, too sensitive. Or not enough. Too quiet, too distant, too boring. You try to find the perfect balance, the safe place in between. But it always feels like walking a tightrope, one wrong word away from falling. And then, on top of everything, you think about the fact that you think too much. You start to question why your brain works this way. Why you can't just let things be. Why you can't just send the message, say the thing, move on. You analyze your own analyzing. You criticize your own worry. You tell yourself you're being ridiculous. And yet, the spiral continues. You live in a world within a world. One where every interaction echoes, every word matters, every silence says something. But most of it happens quietly, invisibly. People don't see the mental drafts, the imagined conversations, the silent stress behind the smallest choices. They just see someone who hesitates, someone who seems thoughtful, maybe a little too much. But you know it's more than that. You know it's not a moment. It's a pattern, a deeply wired habit. It's not about being dramatic or weak. It's about how your brain is built. It's about needing safety where there's uncertainty. It's about trying to protect yourself in ways no one else can see. And that's what makes it so exhausting, because the battle is always inside, even when everything outside seems calm. You call it normal, not because it feels easy or light, but because it's been with you for so long. The spinning thoughts, the constant analysis, the inner noise, it's always been there. It follows you into every conversation, every moment of stillness, every attempt at rest. It weaves itself into your routines so subtly that you've learned to live around it. You think everyone's mind works this way, that maybe this is just part of being human. But if you're honest with yourself, you know it's not the same for everyone. You see others let go. You see them say something awkward and move on. You see them sleep without second-guessing their day. You wonder what that must feel like, to let things go without them dragging behind you for hours or days. Sometimes you envy people who forget, who don't replay things, who don't obsess over what they said, how they looked, what they could have done better. People who live lightly, who exist in the moment instead of being pulled apart by the past or crushed under the weight of what if. You watch them move through life with ease and think, how do they do it? But maybe, just maybe, this isn't something to fix. Maybe the overthinking, the analyzing, the deep feeling, maybe it comes from something good, from care, from awareness, from empathy. You care too much, perhaps, but that means you feel. You see things others miss. You pick up on the quiet shifts, the small gestures, the unspoken things that float between words. You want to understand. You want to connect. You want to do right by others, and sometimes that means carrying the weight of your thoughts. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you thoughtful. It makes you aware. That depth is not a flaw. It's a form of intelligence, of compassion. But still, you deserve peace. You deserve to exist without constantly questioning yourself. You deserve to breathe without having to justify every word or action. You deserve to pause, to rest, even if the world keeps spinning. You don't need to earn that stillness. It is already yours. So maybe tonight, when the thoughts come back, and you know they will, don't fight them. Don't panic. Just notice them. Watch them arrive. Let them say what they came to say. Then gently let them go. Let them float through your mind like clouds across the sky. Let them drift without grabbing onto them, without turning them into storms. Because you are not your thoughts. You are the space they move through, the awareness behind them, the calm behind the noise. You've spent so much time trying to fix yourself, trying to be less, feel less, think less. But maybe you don't need to be less. Maybe you just need more gentleness. More compassion for the way your mind works. More permission to be exactly as you are, without shame. Yes, your mind is loud. Yes, you overthink. But you are also kind. You are also observant. You are also deep. And those parts of you matter, too. They deserve to be held, not judged. So maybe, tonight, you don't try to silence the thoughts. Maybe you just soften around them. Breathe a little deeper. Sit with yourself like you would sit with a friend. Offer yourself the calm you so often give to others. Maybe it's time to stop trying to solve everything. Maybe it's time to just pause and breathe. You are not broken. You are not alone. You are simply human. And that's more than enough.